Welcome to Insights for IT Negotiations, a podcast by UpperEdge, a leading IT sourcing, negotiation, and project execution advisory firm. I'm John Belden, UpperEdge's Chief Research and Strategy Officer.
And I'm Kylie Chisholm, UpperEdge's Marketing Manager. Join us every other week as we share insights to help you maximize the value of your key IT relationships. In each episode, we'll delve into the topics that matter most to IT decision makers and sourcing professionals.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Insights for IT Negotiations podcast. I am joined today by Jeff Luzardo and Shane Griffin, who both work in our Oracle and Workday practice. Jeff and Shane, how are you guys doing this morning?
Great, Kylie. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing well. I'm realizing it is the afternoon, and that was a very Monday sentence of me to say, but I assume the afternoon is going well.
Morning for me, Kylie.
That's true. That is true. Today we're doing a really interesting episode. We're going through actually a case study with a client that Jeff and Shane worked with for an Oracle engagement. So we're just going to bring that case study to life a little bit, talk about what UpperEdge did, the results that we saw, and any other resources or comments that we have on sort of our Oracle practice and how we can help clients. So we can just jump right into it. Let's start with what were the specific challenges that this customer faced in this engagement?
Yeah, so thanks, Kylie. So there's a couple things. So it was a competitive bid process for part of an ERP transformation initiative. They were moving away from their incumbent. Like I say, which vendors they were looking at. Obviously, Oracle was one. There was another one. So it was highly competitive. And they did a great job before we got there of already starting kind of a lot of the capabilities evaluation from a form and fit, functionality, et cetera. And they had some high level pricing that was actually pretty competitive. What they didn't have yet was a process for saying, how do we continue these discussions and really start getting into more detailed financial and commercial terms, right? To really look at it holistically. So they were doing a very thorough job and a lot of due diligence around capabilities, around cultural fit, which we'll talk about a little bit here as far as their meeting with the key stakeholders. But it was more the financial and commercial where they didn't have that expertise and have the strategy and approach of how to get a best-in-class deal. Shane, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, that was perfect.
Perfect. So then how important was relationship building in this large-scale ERP transformation, and what does that look like in practice for customers?
Sure. It's a critical piece of any large-scale complex sourcing effort, right? And it was, of course, critical for this. And our client had very high standards across the board, whether it was they're meeting their requirements or getting the commercial arrangement that they wanted. And so, as Jeff said, they did a lot of the legwork to really get in a position where they understood how the solutions were meeting their requirements. But when it got to the point where they were getting into the negotiation, where they did, again, have high standards, they brought us in, and one of the big pieces that we help you with is building those relationships, and you need to make sure you have the right folks that are in the room on your side. It's helpful if it's throughout the whole process, but also on the vendor side as well. So you're speaking at the right levels, making sure that the vendor has they understand that the scope of this project, the seriousness that you're taking it, and then you can actually achieve the concessions that you're looking for rather than just sending it through your account manager and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Shane. And the other part I'd say to it is you really set that relationship foundation, and what you're getting from it is a couple things. So one is they really looked more about how can we be successful? How are we going to get a successful go live? How are we going to get the value realization from this program? So that was important rather than just focusing on the price and really engaging in deep dive discussions with their stakeholders and the vendor stakeholders. Because now you get them bought in. They want to talk about those things, but the value their solutions can bring. They're very focused on that. So now you bring them into the fold. And they start to view this of saying, if we're getting the key stakeholders from the client, if they're involved this deeply, this early, and really focused on this, is a high likelihood they're going to be successful. Because they're not just looking at it as we just got to negotiate a deal and then we'll deal with the implementation. They're focusing on it from day one. And the other part of that is they also see that and say, these are going to be great clients to be references. And so if I'm able to get this client, this is someone I want to be able to talk to other prospects or even other clients that might be having challenges with some of their implementation, not getting full value realization, because they get it, understand it. And based on that, that increases the value for Oracle on this deal beyond the revenue. See, that's the key part. People forget, like, why do you get non-standard concessions? It's because it's not just based on, tell this deal, here's the money I'm going to get. I can see myself leveraging this and springboarding to get a bunch of other clients involved. And so I'm willing to pay extra for that value by offering non-standard concessions. So they did a really good job of that. I thought it was very important. I also think it's going to put them in a great position for success in the project, because even what they're doing with their implementation partner, they're going very deep to really understand what's going on and doing it eyes wide open.
Awesome. And I think that's something that really sets UpperEdge apart, is how much we focus on that relationship building. It's not about just achieving the most savings as possible in that one isolated deal. It's about having that strategic relationship that can continue to benefit both the vendor and the customer moving forward.
Yeah, I'd say I'm amazed sometimes at some organizations we worked with, and usually, as you mentioned, Kylie, we support them through that, but they might be looking at a footprint expansion as an example with an Oracle or a Workday or an SAP, whomever. And when we first worked with them last, and had most of their businesses running with these solutions, we'll say, "Where's your relationship?" And it might be with the account executive that keeps getting changed out every year that they haven't talked to. And I'm always amazed that multi-billion-dollar organizations running their business on an application, and they have no relationship that exists. So it is an important piece that we do truly try to change that, and that's going to get you more value realization, as well as ultimately, as Shane mentioned, you end up getting the best deals because you're more heavily invested.
Did you know that UpperEdge offers subscription advisory services? This on-demand solution provides essential benchmarks and market insights specific to your business needs precisely when you need it, empowering you and your team to make informed decisions for your IT initiatives. Position your team for success. Reach out today via the link in the show notes to learn more.
And then let's get into the good stuff, the results. This client achieved over 11 million in savings and secured long-term pricing protections. So without giving away too much of what we do and what we charge clients for, what were some negotiation tactics and strategies that led to such a high impact result?
We just talked about the relationship, right? That's one of the key pieces there. But then, of course, we bring some of our other common tools, right? We have our sourcing timeline, which sounds simple, but really understanding the flow of the negotiation is very important. If you want the best deal, you're not going to get it if you let the vendor control the pacing, the format, and the cadence of the narrative of the sourcing effort. That has to come from the client, right? So that helps help the client understand the flow of the negotiation. But then, of course, we have our templates, which have our key commercial terms. We wrap all of the commercial terms up with executive level messaging, right? So that pairs with making sure that you have the right people in the room, is that you're delivering the right messaging as well, to maintain leverage throughout the negotiation, and then ultimately secure those not only price reductions but price protections long term, so that you're set up for success for many years.
Shane gave a good overview of that. I would say, again, it was also the sourcing strategy that had to align with their approach with the vendor, right? So one of the things they were concerned about in bringing us in to say, I don't want this to turn to be adversarial, because we spent so much time with the relationship. So it goes back to your point, Kylie. There's a way to kind of weave that in. And as Shane mentioned, it is that sequencing of events. What's communicated verbally versus what are we requesting in writing? So every meeting, every interaction with those vendors has to have a purpose and a goal. You have to allow the vendors to achieve things too. But to Shane's point, if you don't have that, the vendor's going to dictate that process. And you're going to get proposals that come in bits and pieces. You get something in an email, you get a text message, you have a PowerPoint, there's a phone call. I worked with clients before and we say, what's the deal on the table? And they don't really know because it's in so many places. So kind of Shane's point, having that term sheet or whatever we call it different times, and have everything captured in one document in writing, it removes that ambiguity. Because the vendors are very good at telling you something you want to hear. When it comes to committing in writing, that's when you really get to see, are they willing to live up to it? So I think those were some of the big pieces there, and the benchmarking, right? Just really knowing what are the key issues that we should have here. And where should we ultimately end up? And then what's the rationale for them? Because again, I worked with some clients that say, well, I got this in another deal, so I want to approach this vendor. I want to approach Oracle and say, well, I got this somewhere else, so I want this here. Or I know you gave this to someone else. Like that's not a very effective approach. So we really look at working with our clients to say, here's some of the issues we see. We also hear from them about what their concerns are, and then build that so we have a true business rationale for everything we're asking for and why it's important. And that's even a sounding board sometimes to help our clients figure out what they want. Because sometimes no one gets best in class at every issue. They can figure out what's most important to them. And so, as you mentioned, we saved them over $11 million in 7 years. The savings goes on beyond that. And they had multi-year renewals or multiple multi-year renewal term protections that go far beyond that. So they really have price predictability and containment that goes out many years. Which has been unprecedented. We haven't seen most vendors offer that level of price protections. So it really puts them in a great position for success and for planning downstream. The other thing they were able to achieve, and this is really important, is investments from Oracle as far as their time and their commitment. So being able to access the product development house and the roadmap and be able to have an ability to influence it, to make recommendations for future functionality, things that would meet their needs, especially within their industry. Those can be very important downstream, as well as certain commitments from consulting, from other professional services, and other executives that are going to support them throughout that journey of implementation and beyond. So they have people they can reach out to contact who are going to be actively involved to help minimize risk in their implementation. Those are things not everyone gets. You really need to take the time to invest to do that. And they did an outstanding job on that. So I do want to highlight that for people that are listening. That adds a lot of value. And they still end up getting a great commercial deal too.
Yeah, I would say that actually speaks also to their true commitment to finding a partner, right? A lot of times you hear the partnership discussion as it's being paid lip service by whether it's the client or the vendor. We want to be your strategic partner or this and that, but they truly sought that kind of partnership, and that can also provide that vendor the additional context. Like, look, these guys are really serious, and this is business that's going to be very sustainable for us into the future.
Well, thank you guys for pulling back the curtain a little bit on how you guys help clients. I know, this is a very remarkable case study, a lot of good results there, but it's not the only one of its kind. We're doing this with clients every single day. So I appreciate you guys walking us through that. And we will have some resources down below of blog content to help our listeners understand our methodology a little bit more, as well as our Oracle advisory services. So that way they get a full picture of what we do for clients and how we can help them hopefully achieve results like this.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for listening to Insights for IT Negotiations. This episode was hosted by John Belden and Kylie Chisholm and produced by Mike Brown. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss a new episode. For more information on IT sourcing and risk management strategies, visit UpperEdge.com and subscribe to our monthly UpperEdge newsletter. Thank you for listening.